Different fights, Overtrigger video. This is a video that literally came out just a few hours ago, I believe, at the time of recording. And there were a few points in this video that I feel like we should bring up for discussion. The reason this is not one of those high tier meme, you know, very high amounts of editing, and I'm just kind of doing this without a script, is because I can tell you this right now. I did write up a script somewhat, like a very, very rough draft for reacting to this video, but I can tell you right now that it would be exactly a few hours long, but not a few hours long. It would be a few minutes long, but it would take weeks to finish, because the Overtrigger video I made took a long time to finish as well. So by the time I finish that video, this video will be irrelevant, probably. I don't know. I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, but I got myself a nice cup of tea here. And we're going to be talking about this video. I'm not going to be doing that thing where I play the video, do a haha, you know, like a Jinx reaction. I will be pausing this video and talking specifically about, I'm going to bring that microphone in, and talking specifically about what I feel like, you know, are good points, bad points made in this video. And actually, I might do this more often with more Overtrigger videos or more discussion videos in general, if, you know, this interests you. Different fight, if you are watching this, absolutely nothing but respect for you, my guy. I absolutely adore your content. You're a great guy, but I just disagree with a lot of the points you have. So if you're watching this, dude, no hard feelings. We're still bros, I hope. But yeah, let's go to this. Also, obviously, I should not have to say this, but I do. Please don't hate comment this man. I don't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because that's a stupid thing. If you hate comment someone, why would you do this? But yeah, let's actually get down to watching this video, because I think I'm only gonna be watching the Overtrigger section, by the way. The full video will be in the link in the description below, but let's get into it, because it's a lot longer of a video, but the Overtrigger section is the one I'm most concerned about.
When heated, we gotta bust out the notepad, I think we gotta bust out the notepad for this one. I think we gotta bust out the notepad. Hold up. This question I gotta bust out the notepad for. Again, how do we feel about the Overtrigger? So,
alright, so we have a notepad. Okay, cool.
Here's my process of how I felt with the Overtrigger, right? Stage one was ew, RNG.
And I think that's like the main issue that most of us have with the Overtrigger, if we're being completely honest here. Like, no one really likes the Overtrigger because of the RNG it brings. But considering this was your initial reaction, I'm very interested to see where the rest of your reaction goes.
This was definitely, like, when it was revealed, I was like, I don't like it. You know, I was like, what is this? Random win button. Everything's been great. Why do I gotta eat this RNG? And then I was like, even if I feel salty, nothing will change. Even if I feel salty, so acceptance. I accepted them.
I feel like this is what you really can do, right? But acceptance doesn't necessarily mean you have to like them. Like, I think I've also accepted Overtriggers at this point, but like I've accepted it in a way where it's like Bushiroad's not going to change them, because I feel like most of the fan base either replied with 10 on this survey because they're idiots, or 0 because they're idiots. Read the question. It says 1 through 10, not 0 through 10. So if you put 0, your vote actually didn't matter. But like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, Bushiroad's not going to change them. They're not going to ban them from events. It seems really weird for Bushiroad to introduce this new crazy mechanic. Like, it's like them removing gifts. Or Gift 2. Actually, this is a better example. It's like if they released Gift 2, and then the first BCS where Gift 2 was legal, they said, okay, you can't use Gift 2. Like, this is the same thing as doing that. So, like, really all we can do is accept it, but I don't think that means we have to be okay with it. Like, nothing changed is a really incorrect statement to have. Everything changed. The way we play the game is still the same, but these, like, 2 to pass is no longer a thing. It's now Overtrigger pass. Like, you can't really calculate an Overtrigger unless you drop a PG, which, like, there's only 4 of and you have to draw them. So we're back to the Zazan issue where, like, yeah, the Zazan FTK is broken, but just draw the rock thing from PC2, Smile. Draw the outs, you'll be fine. The FTK is okay, guys.
I was like, all right, screw it. Whining will not do anything. I'm literally wasting my time by, like, whining about this.
Yes, you're right, but at the same time, Bushiroad has been shown to listen to its players. We shouldn't whine necessarily, but we should make our complaints about them very loud and well known.
So I accepted them. And then once I accepted them and I kept playing. Thrill.
To be fair, we haven't really had any events. I feel like the instant we get an event, people are going to hate this mechanic. Right? The reason why people don't really hate it right now is because it's like casual locals and stuff. We don't actually have events. Like we had the remote fight BCS, but I didn't watch it, so I don't know how impactful Overtriggers were. If you'd like to tell me down below, tell me. Excuse me. But in casual games, these are great, right? Like in casual games, I'm having a lot of fun. But like when I'm sitting down with my friends to like competitively test these formats, I'm not having fun. Like, they flip the Overtrigger, and I'm like, well, I could have won that game, but you got an Overtrigger. Which I know is like, oh, I could have won that game, but you have 6 damage heal. But, like, at least you can play through the 6 damage heal in some capacity. Overtriggers just end the turn. They just end the turn. You can't beat over an Overtrigger unless you check an Overtrigger of your own, which means you have to out-sack their sacking with your own sacking. Which is, like, great. I love this. This is awesome. But in casual games, these are great. I love them in casual games. Like, I love playing them with my friends and just laughing and being like, ha! You're bad at Vanguard! Like, at locals, when these trigger and I'm not taking it seriously, they're great. Because, like, I've won locals enough where I don't need to really pay for my entry fees. So, like... Oh, sorry, I didn't won. I topped locals enough. I've topped locals enough where, like, I don't need to pay for my entry fees because I just use the store credit that I win. So, like, I'm playing this for free. It's a free tournament. I'm not exactly upset that I'm losing here. There's nothing at stake. Like, I don't care about packs. I got all my singles already. Any packs I get legitimately just go to my friends unless I get SPs. Like, but when you're playing for a ticket to Japan, yeah, it's a free tournament, but there's something actually at stake here. So, like, the thrill of it just goes away because, like, all that hard work you put into testing for this event is, like, gone because some scrub lord checked an Overtrigger. And the same goes for me. If I check an Overtrigger against my opponent and I'm supposed to lose, I don't feel happy that I'm winning. I feel sad. I legitimately say, I'm sorry about that. I say, I'm sorry that I Overtriggered you.
That's what kind of became of it. Because obviously there are like, so to break it down, right? There are obviously games where like I check a defensive, I get a free turn and I win because of that. You know, defensive Overtrigger. Or let's say my opponent like Overtriggers defensively for game and I 2-to-pass and I lost. So then I go like, okay, now I need to start PGing at like when I...
But you need to draw the PG. Like, okay, so with triggers, you can do a estimated, calculated guess on how many triggers are left in the deck. In fact, that's what I've done many times. So when my opponent attacks, and I'm thinking, do I go 2 to pass or 1 to pass? I go, can I check your drop zone really quickly? Or can I take your damage really quickly? I look through their drop zone, I look through their damage, I see how many triggers are left. I go, okay, it's only 2 to pass. So it's only 2, if I make it 2 to pass, and they have 3 triggers left in a 10-card deck, then the chances are they aren't going to get those 2 triggers. So 2 to pass. If there are 3 triggers in a 5-card deck, they are going to get the 2 triggers. So I go 2 to pass. I overguard and make sure that they can't hit. But like, you can't do that with Overtriggers. They're a one of that you can't really calculate for. Like, technically speaking, if you're taking the Overtrigger into account every single game, you should just be 2 passing. Because mathematically speaking, they shouldn't check the Overtrigger. But they will. Like, if it's a 1 Overtrigger in a 10-card deck, the chances are very much that they won't check an Overtrigger. So why would I PG and overcommit when they most likely won't get it? But if they do get it, I just lose. Like, you can't calculate for an Overtrigger. That's just not possible. Because if you try to calculate for an Overtrigger, you will lose immediately. There's just no question about it.
I'm at 3 or 4, so I don't get 2 to pass and die, you know, that kind of thing. So, but the thrill aspect here, what happened is that so it really comes back, this generally comes back to like why I play Vanguard in general, which...
I entirely agree. If that's the reason you play Vanguard, for the thrill of it, like you like the thrills of the luck sack based gameplay and the like, that wasn't meant to be negative, by the way. That's like, if you enjoy the RNG aspect and you enjoy how unpredictable it is, that is legitimately okay. Like, you can enjoy that. Personally, the reason I enjoy Vanguard so much is because I really like the game mechanics, and I feel like if it was less RNG like it was in G era, it would be an amazing format. But yeah, this is a valid point. You are allowed to like the Overtrigger. I think this is entirely an okay idea. People don't understand that you can like something that's flawed. I, for example, adore Legion. People don't really like Legion for some reason, but I think Legion was a great mechanic. I understand the problems with it. I understand why people don't like it, but I personally like it. But like, GIFs are the same. I hate GIFs. Most people think GIFs are flawed, but if you like GIFs, that's fine, right? Like, you can enjoy. I like the idea of GIFs in concept, the idea of giving the player who went first a incentive to go first in premium, because that was something that G era was kind of lacking, was an incentive to go first. Like, if you went second, you didn't automatically win the game, but if you went first, you were at a slight disadvantage. You had to actually work towards getting first stride, whereas the player who went second didn't really have to work towards it. So, like, this is a valid point. This is completely okay. Like, I understand this entirely, but objectively, it's just, no. If you enjoy them, that's fine, but objectively, these are just terrible, terrible, terrible things.
Which is like, so when we talk about RNG in card games, there's like two different ways to approach it. There's one which is RNG in card effects, which is, especially in games like Hearthstone and like virtual card games in general, there's quite a lot of like randomly choose X amount of like opponent's units and do stuff, right? Or like randomly do this as a card.
To be fair, I don't think Hearthstone players like that. Like, I play Hearthstone very competitively, and I hate that. I hate RNG effects. I try to play decks that don't use RNG because I don't want to lose if my RNG goes wrong. Like, I play Jade Druid and Wild, and it's fun. It's not really RNG because I get to basically control everything that happens. So, people don't like it, but you're right, it's there, technically.
Card effect, which I don't like. I think that's like, it's like you play a card and you don't know where it's gonna go, right?
Okay, so he agrees. That's cool. I'm glad we can agree on this, because I feel like if I met someone who enjoys who thinks the RNG in Hearthstone is good, I might have an aneurysm.
You just like roll the dice and see what happens. So I don't really like when card effects are RNG, or it's like flip a coin, see what happens, right? I'm not very huge on that.
I would be really interested to hear different fights' opinions on Pokemon.
But I really like RNG as a inherent game mechanic.
This I can see. I really like Duel Masters. I actually, when I was in Japan, I played a lot of Duel Masters. I bought a meta deck. I looked up the best lists. I asked some people around some shops, like, hey, what do you recommend for cards? They helped me out. I picked up a cool deck. I went to a locals. I got third. It was really fun. And Duel Masters' shield trigger mechanic is really fun. It's really nice. The reason why I think it's so cool, though, is because of the way it's balanced out. People will not play. So, for example, in Duel Masters, there is a card that's a shield trigger that like just ends your opponent's turn, but people don't really play it because it's a brick. Like, if you get it in your hand, it's a bad card and you don't want it. It's only good in the shield zone. But shield triggers that slightly change the flow of the game, like for example, there's a shield trigger that, like, when it comes in, taps an opponent's creature. It's really good as a shield trigger, but you can also play it from your hand as like a normal ass card. So those shield triggers people really like because you can use them as normal cards, but they also work in the RNG aspect. Overtriggers don't really work that way. You cannot get the cool effects while they're in your hand. You have to drive check them. You can't really control when they activate. They activate when it wants you to activate. So I will agree, I like RNG in card games as a mechanic, but like it has to be done a very certain way, like Duel Masters. Or it has to be done a very certain way, like in, I don't know, let's name another game with RNG. Like the trigger system originally in Vanguard. Like, I don't think anyone really cared about triggers in G, because the 5k power really wasn't that impactful, and like the 10k shield was good, but like a 5k defensive trigger didn't just end turns like a 10k does in V. So like triggers, RNG is fine. You just got to be really careful about how you design it.
And what I mean by that is, I love triggers. I think triggers are the most exciting part of Vanguard. I think triggers are the big reason why I play Vanguard.
And again, if that's why you play card games, that's fine. Just, I agree with you. It's a good reason to enjoy a card game, is the thrill it gives you. But that's a bit of a I consider that personally to be a casual mindset. I really like the thrill it gives me in RNG, and I don't care if I win or lose, I just really like the feeling it gives me, is a very casual mindset, which there's nothing wrong with a casual mindset. I don't know, people feel like when I say the word casual, I'm like saying it like it's a negative thing. Like, Casual Vanguard is fun. Casual Vanguard is great. But, like, competitively speaking, RNG is bad. So, just something to think about.
As a whole, let me bump this over here. So, triggers are like a really big reason why I play Vanguard, because it's always exciting. No game feels the same. No game feels the same. You know, some game you'll check more.
I mean, that's the issue with Yu-Gi-Oh! That I have, is that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so incredibly consistent that, like, every single end board and every single game kind of looks the same. Like, it's so consistent that your deck will do the same thing every game. So, like, it gets repetitive, but, you know, something to think about.
More crits, some game you'll heal more, etc, etc, etc. You know, that's just how the game's been all the time. But it's not just with Vanguard. I like the Digimon TCG, not, you know, I like the memory system, but for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I like the Digimon TCG and it's unique because of the memory system. Like, yeah, the memory system is cool, but my favorite thing about the Digimon card game is security.
This is actually something I wanted to bring up earlier. I wanted to make a video about Digimon and where I feel like it falls short, and the security system is one of them. I feel like the security system would be better if, when the card is, you know, checked for security, you can choose to put it in your hand regardless. Like, if it's a Digimon with low DP and you don't want to lose it, you can just go, oh, I like it in my hand. Because the worst feeling is when something in your security gets trashed that you really needed. Like, you should have the option to put it in your hand. Like, let's say you check a Digimon with really high DP. You can go, do I want to put this in my hand or do I want to kill the opponent's Digimon? You got player choice in the RNG now. And that's good RNG. It's player choice within the RNG. So I agree with you, Chris. You are correct that the security system is cool, but first of all, it's just Duel Master's shield system, but worse. But maybe implementing player choice in the RNG isn't a bad thing. Just saying.
Security is a mechanic where when you attack your opponent directly, they reveal a card, and your attacking unit battles with that revealed card, and if they sack something that has huge attack power, you might just not win a game that you would have won otherwise. And I love that.
I have nothing more to say that I haven't already said. Like, these are all very, very valid points, but they're very casual at heart. Which, again, is not a big deal, not a problem, because, like, I swear to God, there's always one in the comments saying, don't gatekeep, don't say casuals are bad. I'm not. Casual games are great. Casual card games are fun. I literally only play Bakugan casually. I'm not playing competitive Bakugan. Like, relax, bro. Casuals are fine.
I like thrill. I like RNG being built into the game, but I don't like RNG on effects, right? I don't really like RNG on effect when it's like choose random followers, you know, random stuff like that. But I like triggers, I like security checks in Duel Master's shield. That's kind of why, like, I find games...
Hey, he said the thing!
Games like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! They're fun to play every now and again, but they lack that kind of, like, that potential, like, comeback mechanic. They lack that just complete balls to the wall, like, ability to just turn the tides.
I actually think that the issue with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually does have a lot of ways to turn the tides that aren't that, like, if you draw a Dark Ruler, you just end your opponent's life, or if you, like, I don't know, drew 3 hand traps, you just win. Like, there are ways to turn it around. Like, your opponent's about to combo off, you just go lol Nibiru. But it's not fun in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, it feels bad and no one likes it. So, like, Pokemon I can't speak on. I've never played Pokemon the TCG, and I don't plan to. It sounds horrible. I've seen my friends play it, and I don't want anything to do with it. But I will say, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very skill-based for all the wrong reasons. But if you want to look at a game that actually does the whole lack of RNG, but has good comebacks really well, look at Buddy Fight. Buddy Fight's an amazing game because it's got no RNG mechanics built into it, really, other than drawing. But there are plenty of cards that can help you make a comeback, and you're not necessarily pushed into a corner, well, with the exception of, like, the later stages of the game, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, Buddy Fight's a good example of a game that doesn't have RNG mechanics and lets comebacks happen. Like, I don't think RNG is the only way for comeback mechanics to be in your game. Like, you have card design. Design cards made for comebacks, or just don't make your cards too powerful. Really, that's all you have to do.
Right? That ability to turn the tides. And so for me, the thrill of Overtriggers came from the fact, like, when I was playing some games and I would have like 10 or less cards in deck, and even if I was on the winning side or if I was on the losing side, the sheer thought that there is a Overtrigger in my super compressed deck is exciting. It was like, damn, like this bomb in my stack of 10 or less cards is gonna pop at any moment now.
I will say I do like that. That is with triggers, I do like that, where like you check the amount of heals in your deck and you go, there's a heal in my deck. There are 4 heals in my deck. I can actually pull a 6 damage heal off. Like, that's fun. I like that about triggers, but again, that's just the kind of thing with triggers in general, not necessarily just the Overtrigger, but I get what you mean. Like, it is fun, but
And like, if I haven't seen my opponents too, is like, I gotta really factor that in. When do I burn my PGs?
Like I said earlier, like, I don't think factoring in Overtrigger is a good idea, because like, mathematically speaking, if you run the numbers, your opponent's not going to check an Overtrigger, but then they will anyway, because that's how RNG works. Like, they'll check one. You just shouldn't factor one in, because you, like, again, if it's one Overtrigger in a 10 card deck, I'm not PGing that attack. I'm going to 2 to pass it. I'm not going to PG an attack because I fear there's an Overtrigger coming. You can't factor that in, which is why it feels especially bad when it gets checked, because no good player will factor in an Overtrigger. Nobody. I've asked people, like, I've asked as many professional players as I can, like, hey, do you factor in an Overtrigger when guarding? And their answer is usually no, because probability-wise, they just shouldn't.
When do I actually play them down? Also, like, I've said this many times, but like, can I be brutally honest for just a second? Commentating V Premium was the least explosive because there was no Overtriggers in that format.
I was agreeing with you until you said that last part. V Premium is the most boring format in existence. I think we can all agree on this. It's very linear. There's no skill in it. It's like solitaire. Like, okay, there is skill, but there's no player interaction. Like, it's just really boring to watch. Like, I basically watch my opponent go off, then I go off, then they go off, then I go off, and it's just, oh wow, I'm really getting tired here. But Premium is fun because of the player interaction, the G guards, and the crazy shit you can do. D Standard is amazing to watch just because the decks are so fun and built well. I don't think Overtriggers have yeah, Overtriggers are exciting to watch go off, but when we were watching the commentary on like round 1, because I did get the chance to watch round 1 with my friends, we saw the Overtriggers get flipped and we went, oh, come on. We didn't go, ah, that's crazy. We went, oh, dude, come on. Like, it's not fun to watch happen. Like, it's like, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. Oh, he got the Overtrigger. Like, I guess, yeah, from a commentator standpoint, it's pretty fun to watch, but like, imagine being in the seat of the players just for 5 seconds. I'm gonna be real with you. But yeah, V Premium is not boring because there are no Overtriggers. It's boring because it's like a really poorly designed format that was created by monkeys.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Overtriggers as a commentator is the best thing ever. Like, literally.
Yes, I can agree with that. As commentator, I could 100% agree with you. Crazy crap. Crazy cool.
I'm screaming, I'm losing my voice, I'm popping off, you know, I'm literally like, imagine Obama at like Guilty Gear Exard, like, you know, Evil Japan Finals, I'm losing my shit, and it's fun, right? As a commentator, it's great, but of course it doesn't apply to the majority of the player base, right? Quite literally. But I do think that Overtriggers are problematic in like several layers. So that's why I want to...
He did at least say it was for commentators only. He did at least acknowledge that it's just him. Like, good on you, Chris. Good on you, Chris. By the way, if you have personal problems with Overtriggers or you personally enjoy them for your own personal reasons, that's okay as well. Like, again, if you only play with, like, your wife on Saturday afternoons and you two enjoy the Overtrigger, then that's fine. Same way that Chris enjoys them because it's good as a commentator. I didn't know if you know this, but opinions can be based off of who you are as a person and what you do with the game. It's crazy, right?
Like, I think there are some good things about them, and I think there are some bad things about them, and we have a scale of 10. So let's see how much we can, let's see how many points we can make. We'll do pluses and minuses and see what we can do, right? So let's try to make all right. Everyone hates them, so let's start with a negative, right? First negative, 100 million power.
I think that's honestly the biggest problem that I have, is that they gave 100 million power. Like, I would be way cooler with them if they just gave 10k. The effects are all they need to be good. I'm gonna be real with you. Because like with the Stoico one, for example, you give 2 units 10k, You give your you give one unit 10k. You give your full front row another 10k. You give a unit a crit, and you draw a card and you possibly heal. You draw another card because it's an Overtrigger. The Dark States one still gives your Vanguard a crit for the rest of the game. The Brankgate one still doubles the crit of all your units for the turn. The Keter one still gives you 6 drive checks, and the Dragon Empire one still restands your Vanguard. These are still crazy effects. You don't need 100 million power for it to be good. But I want to see what he thinks about it.
I definitely think 100 million is definitely a negative. It's way too much for no reason. A lot of people say like, oh, if it was 50k, that would be manageable, especially in premium. 50k is manageable. Like your opponent checks defensive, goes to 60, 63 or whatever. Quite a lot of decks can break through it. All right.
The unfair decks can break through it. Let's be real here, Chris.
Right. Quite a lot of decks can break through it in premium. It's okay. Right.
But by unfair, of course, I mean like the infinite loops and the Gusteel bullshit, but you know. I don't mean like DP is unfair. That's kind of DP shtick, is to have big numbers. So I just had to clarify that for the monkeys in the comments section.
But in standard for now, you know, I mean 100 million is anyway, like it's a bit too much, right? It's a bit too much. But I'm gonna add my little positive here. I like the thrill of them. I like the
Again, that's a very good personal point. If you like the thrill of them, that is completely fine. I'm going to keep saying this until I die, because people don't understand that you're allowed to personally like things that are actually flawed.
excitement. I like the hype. You know, it's fun. Sometimes, you know, you will have like your opponent will get salty if they win with one, and they'll get salty if they lose with one. But sometimes you'll sit down with an opponent, and especially like in my locals, we have quite a few players that they get really hyped.
That's really weird. And I don't think it's weird because, like, I personally think it's weird. It's just because what I've heard, and at my own locals personally, people overall, from what I can tell, say, sorry about that, when they get an Overtrigger. At my locals, at my friends' locals, at people that I've talked to's locals. I've never heard people being hyped for these at locals. That's really fascinating. Like, I'm genuinely interested to see what your locals is like. Like, that's not a sarcastic comment. That's an actual, like, I'm very curious what your locals is like. But I've just never heard that before.
Really hyped when an Overtrigger pops. They're like, they're losing to it. Like, I check an Overtrigger and I'm about to win from it, but they're pog champing out. Like, oh my god, Overtrigger! Wow, that's crazy.
I hate to be a bit of a cynic, but have you considered? No, that's actually not a good argument. I'm not even gonna make that.
You know, they are the ones losing their shit, even though they're losing to it. So, like, and I know a lot of people that are quite literally scared to say anything about it, scared to say anything about Overtriggers online because they don't want to get death threats. So, like, you know, I've seen this shit. People really take it way too far.
Yeah, this is First of all, okay, watching this video, if you're sending death threats and you're actively hating on people who actually like them, like, okay, if people say they're fine for the game, yeah, don't bully them, but, like, call them out on their bullshit, like, because they're just wrong, right? They're not good for the game. But if you send death threats to people who say they like them, what is wrong with you? Like, real talk, are you okay? Who hurt you? Be nice on the internet, guys. Like, really.
And that's my next million, Twitter. I mean, that's my next, not my next million, my next negative, Twitter. God.
To be fair, Twitter is like just a cesspool of cancer. So, like, I don't know what you want. Like, Twitter's gonna be Twitter.
God damn it, y'all need to get off Twitter. Get off.
You do, yes. Listen to Chris, guys. Listen to Mr. YouTuber. Get off Twitter.
Twitter. Stop, like, every single day. Every single day. Do y'all not have anything better to do? Do y'all not have anything?
No, I really don't.
Better to do than to go in circles every single day. I'm like, just got back from locals. I fucking hate Overtriggers. Like, do you not have dinner to do? Do you have not have homework? I'm sure you got work tomorrow morning. Is there nothing you got to prepare for? Like,
to be entirely fair, Chris, like, sending a tweet takes 5 seconds. Like, this is a really invalid point. Like, this is a shit point, dude. I'm sorry, but, like, they need to be nicer. But telling them to get off Twitter and like, don't you have something better to do? That's kind of a stupid point because tweets take 5 seconds to send. Like, if someone's sending a tweet every 4 seconds, then, like, yeah, they've got a problem. But, like, what you're describing isn't an issue. I can still send actually, you know what? Here, watch this right now. I'm going to send a tweet right now on Twitter while I'm recording this video, and it won't disrupt it at all. Hello, Twitter. Boom. I just sent a tweet. I'm going to continue on with my day now. That's kind of a garbage point, dude. By the way, if this gets like retweets and likes and becomes my most interacted with tweet, I'm going to have problems. But, like, that's a completely garbage point, dude. I'm sorry. That is a very, very bad point you're making here. I feel like this is emotionally charged, which is why I'm not, like, mad. Like, I get it, dude. You don't like people on Twitter being mean. But, like, there are better ways of going about it.
Surely there's something better you can do with your time than complain about overtriggers every single damn day on Twitter. Jesus Christ, y'all. Even when Zazan was a problem, people weren't complaining about Zazan that much. And that
I'd actually argue Zazan was complained about more. I'm gonna be real with you. I saw way more complaining about Zazan than I've seen complaining about Overtriggers. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, the minority you're speaking of is a very small minority, but when it came to complaining about Zazan, nobody was looking at Zazan rationally, because you shouldn't be looking at a card like that rationally. Everyone was losing their minds, rightfully so. But like most of the people I've seen on Facebook, for example, they're completely chill when saying Overtriggers are bad. The people who are like aggressive are the people that are saying that Overtriggers are fine for the game. Not that they like them. People who say they like them are good people, and I will support their decision entirely. But people are saying, oh, they're fine for the game, are the more aggressive people saying, stop whining and stop being so salty and wow, Scrublord, get good at the game and play around it. Like, those are the salt lords. Those are the cancer. You're yelling at the wrong crowd here, buddy.
that was a big problem. God damn, dude, people need to get off Twitter. Like, this might seem unrelated, but if you're in a, like, you need to really think about how important social media is to enjoying a hobby, right? If a community is toxic, I don't want to play that game. Like,
I don't think saying Overtriggers are bad is toxic. Like, if people are sending death threats, then yeah, that's toxic. But again, that's a very small minority. People shouldn't do it. Like, again, I'll say it to the camera. I'll say it to the camera. If you send death threats over Twitter or Facebook about Overtriggers, I will block you. I will just straight up block you. You're a horrible person, and I hope you don't eat tomorrow. But like, again, just, it's a very, very small minority here, Chris. Every community will have, oh, here you go. People are already liking the tweet. But every community has a toxic minority like this, Chris. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, even Shadowverse, I know a few people in Shadowverse that I cannot stand speaking to for the life of me. You got it. I'm sorry, dude. I really disagree with you here. I feel like every community's got that toxic minority, dude.
Look, a big reason why I'm deterred from certain games is because the community is just really negative. And
again, that's... Chris, I understand what you're saying, buddy, but again, it's a very small minority and you should still give the game a chance, right? Like, here's a good example. I never wanted to get into JoJo's because I hated the community. I despise the JoJo fan base with every fiber of my being. They're toxic, unfunny, virgins with huge neckbeards, right? But I love JoJo the anime now because I decided finally, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna give it a shot. It's one of my favorite anime now, except for part 4 and 5. I really don't like those. But parts 1 through 3, mwah, beautiful. But like, I would never have checked it out if I didn't, like, you know, put my bias aside and just check out the dang anime. Same can go for hobbies. Like, maybe you really like a game and maybe the community isn't the worst part. Like, it's different for a game than an anime, I know, but like, actually, we'll use a game. Persona 5. I can't stand that I actually have a guy that I used to know who was really into Persona 5 and everyone hated him because he was so toxic. He was a JoJo fan as well, so that says something. He tried to like hit on my ex-girlfriend when we were still dating. Like, screw that guy. But like, yeah, I still tried out Persona. I tried out Persona anyway. I put my bias aside. It's not my favorite video game of all time, and I haven't picked it up since, but it's on my list of things to do because I kind of enjoyed the gameplay, and it's just a huge time investment. That's really the only barrier keeping me from enjoying it now. But like, again, I would have to interact with the community in order to understand the ins and outs and ups and downs, and I have found a few friends that are really good at Persona and really like Persona. Tyler, if you're watching, shoutouts to you, buddy. I'll see you back on campus soon, pal. But it's just a really bad point. I really disagree with this, Chris. I really disagree with this.
doesn't shut up about certain things, and I think some of y'all need to chill. I think some of y'all need to relax.
I mean, this is entirely true. Some of us really do need to relax. Like, we need to shut the hell up.
Because this shit affects people, and it's not Overtriggers that are making people quit the game, it's your whining, so please, chill. Everyone gets it, everyone knows the negatives. You don't have to repeat it every single day. It's fine, right?
I feel like we do, though, because that's how we get Bushiroad to listen. Bushiroad only, like, did anything about Zazan when we made a fuss about it. Just saying. Like, we shouldn't send death threats, but we should complain about them. We should make our problems with them known.
It's fine. It's fine. All right, what's next? I got plenty more. All right, I think I'm going to give it a huge plus that I think most people can't really deny: art.
Agreed. Oh, I love the art. The art is so good. But the art on Zazan was pretty cute too. Like, I'm gonna be real, I really like Zazan's art, but not as a card. Uh-oh. YouTube's crashing. Hold on. Uh-oh. We're having a bit of an issue here, guys. Ah, here we go. We're back on track. Okay.
We'll quit the game. It's your whining, so please.
All right, there we go. We had a bit of a hiccup there, boys. And an advertisement, an advert.
You'd never
no,
want
I want to watch
food
Chris.
residue on your
Stop it.
surfaces.
No,
But
I don't
that's
care
what
about my
you could be doing
surfaces.
with a
Go
used
away.
dishcloth. So switch to Bounty for a more hygienic clean.
Switch to
Unlike
Bounty if you
used
wanna shut up and
dishcloths
wanna
that
complain
can
about
redistribute
Overtriggers.
residue. Bounty keeps your surfaces cleaner. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Chris, I'll have you know I did not
plenty
I did not turn off ad block. That was for you, buddy. Enjoy the revenue.
All right, I think first time we didn't know effects, we didn't know anything. The art is a banger. I don't care what else you think about Overtriggers. You can put a 0 on the survey. I don't care, but you got to give it a point.
You shouldn't put a 0 on the survey, by the way. That your vote doesn't count.
Point for the art. This shit looks sick. These are the coolest looking triggers I've ever seen, like by far, and it's just cool.
To be fair, though, the art really isn't a plus because, like, it's asking how you feel about the mechanic, not the art.
Like, you gotta appreciate it. You gotta let it rock, right? The art is a big plus.
It's really
the art
good.
is a big plus.
I agree.
Now, this one I'm not really sure if this is a plus or a minus. Maybe we can talk about it a little bit with the chat. The different effect. I think this is both.
Again, if it was just plus 10k and there were just different effects on them, then I think no one would care and these would be fine. Gonna be real with you, dude.
A plus and a minus, I think, for a lot of people. So we'll break it down. Different effects. I think it's like, I don't know, it's kind of weird because I like the fact that each effect is unique and flavorful, but some of them do a little bit too much. Like, I think it's not so much that the effects do a bit too much, but it's the combination of the power and the effect that leads to a bit too much.
Yep,
right?
Entirely agree. Yep.
So I think it's like, the effects are cool, but Overtriggers could have had these super explosive effects and been just 10k plus power, right? These could have been...
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, just make them plus 10k power and everyone's fine with them. Like, they're still really powerful, they're still incredible, they're still a 5th heal trigger that goes off no matter how much damage you have, and they still draw you a card, but they don't end the turn, and they don't make an attack just unguardable. Like, 2 to pass is still a viable strategy then, and you have to think carefully about how you apply your Overtrigger effects then. So, just saying, Bushy, if you're watching...
in like only 10k plus power, but maybe the effects worked on both offense and defense, and people would have been more cool about it.
No, because then the Stoica and the Dark States ones are busted. Maybe even the Brantgate one too. If you make them work on defensive, then some triggers are just better than others. I'm going to be real with you.
I think it's honestly the 100 mil that rubs people the worst, honestly, and I think personally too, the 100 mil probably rubs me the worst too.
Yep.
I personally think the effects are a plus. I like them.
I like them too. I'm with you, Chris.
I think they're creative. If we had to all play the Cray Elemental one, I think it'd be pretty boring. And I don't know. I think it's hype. I think that they're pretty, like, and we've seen these, like, Overtriggers act in such different ways, too. You know, especially the Keter one, we saw so much during BSFO, sometimes literally cost people games, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's both plus and a minus. It really depends who you talk to. I'm trying to be, like, as objective as possible. Of course, I think this one, these two, I think, are pretty subjective. You know, it depends how much you're out.
Hey, at least he finally admits it. They're very subjective, dude. Like, it's a poor argument, but if that's how you feel, it's how you feel.
out there on the community, and I think this one, not everyone will agree on this. I think a lot of people won't agree on the thrill. A lot of people are like, I hate overtriggers even if I'm winning with them, right? Because, all right, this is another negative we can add that I'm sure quite a few people will agree on: undeserved win.
And this is the biggest issue I have with it, is that like triggers normally, like, unless you're checking a crit trigger every single drive check you do, they're really not sacky. They're distributed luck evenly, but overtriggers just don't work that way. And they can give undeserved wins when, like, I'm about to make a push and they get an overtrigger and then I just die because I went all in, or because I have to go all in or else I lose. Like, this is a good point. I saw a comment on Facebook saying that, like, people who think that, you know, people who win with overtriggers get undeserved wins are, like, toxic and have low self-esteem, but, like, this is a very casual mindset. Like, have you considered that people enjoy winning? Have you considered that people, perhaps like me, could perhaps enjoy the feeling of my hard work and, you know, good technical skill paying off? Like, if I go to an event and I play flawlessly, I expect to win most of my games. Not all of them, most of them. If I lose a game because of an overtrigger, even though I played the best I could, it's just a big old shame, dude. Like,
right. I think, or loss, both things, right?
Yeah, both sides, yes.
I think this is probably a pretty big thing that a lot of people don't like about overtriggers as well: undeserved win and undeserved loss, right? But to me, there's a positive in this that I like, and I know that a lot of people in Japan like: comeback mechanic.
You already had heal triggers. I'm going to be real with you. You already had heal triggers. Again, I don't mind a 5th heal trigger that also draws a card. I really don't. I like the idea of a 5th heal trigger, but 100 million power? Really? Really?
I like comeback mechanics, you know? I like you know, like the Roman cancel system in Guilty Gear. Bursts, rather. I mean, I guess like the yellow RC, but I'm not going to get technical with bursts, I guess, in Guilty Gear. I like heal triggers as a comeback mechanic. It's a very, like, Danger Time, yeah. Danger. I gotta make the comparing Guilty Gear to Overtriggers video at some point, but you know,
I'm scared of that.
Triggers are quite literally Danger Time if you're savvy with Guilty Gear. But they're a comeback mechanic, and Zach just made an excellent point in chat. Like, that's been Vanguard since day one. You play the game, you sign the waiver. This is another thing. I don't think I can put this.
That's not entirely true or fair, though, because, like, I don't know how to tell you this. There's a huge difference between a trigger slightly changing the flow of the game, right? And overtriggers literally ending the game. And also, if you play the game, you sign the waiver, like, that's just garbage. Like, what if I really enjoy the mechanics of Vanguard? What if I really enjoy the mechanics? What if I want to play the game because I really enjoy the mechanics? Like, I understand that, like, there's a downside here, but, like, I've seen Vanguard be better. I've played Vanguard without the overtrigger all this time, and now they're adding this in. It's not like I played Vanguard with the overtrigger at the beginning, and, like, I've just had to come to accept it. No. This is adding on. This is not the same, okay? This is adding on to something that was already fine. So people who quit the game because of them completely understand, right? But, like, I like the mechanics. I like the game. I've already invested way too much money in this game to, you know, stop playing. So this is kind of garbage. You're basically saying, oh, play V only. But V is a bad format. So, like, you're basically telling people, if you don't like overtriggers, go play the uninteractive format. Like, what is wrong? That is so gatekeepy. Like, Zach, guy in chat, you're wrong.
It's on, like, a plus-minus scale, but let's add it to the top here. Like, how should I put this? The card game industry is massive. You can play Magic, you can play Yu-Gi-Oh, you can play Pokemon, you can play Digimon, you can play Battle Spirits. Like,
Battle Spirits is a great game, by the way. You should totally play it.
Play what you want, but we play Vanguard for a reason. And as I've said plenty of times, I love triggers. I really like triggers because they add the surprise factor to every single game, and they make it so that not every single game feels the same. And I like that. My deck...
Again, triggers really help with that, but you don't need that trigger to give 100 million power for that to be valid. Like, these are all great points. The question is, why does it give 100 million power? You can't defend that. You cannot defend that. There's no reasonable defense for that. Like, I want someone to make a reasonable defense for that right now in the comments. You won't make it. You won't find it.
can be as autopilot, as like literally like cranium removed as possible, but triggers will make it feel different every so often, and I like that. I personally like that. Why I like, for example, like I enjoy different games for different reasons, right? I like Yu-Gi-Oh because it's super skill intensive, and like it's like I'm playing with, like I'm like defusing a bomb at all times, because the slightest misstep, everything blows up and I lost, right? So if you like that kind of gameplay, you like defusing bombs, you're gonna enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. Now Magic, I only played in high school, so I don't really like, I was never competitive in high school.
Magic's a great game, but the land system ruins it. Like, and again, this is actually a good comparison. It's not like I've been playing Magic for years and there was no land system and the game was fine, and then they introduced lands and the game sucks now. Like, if you're playing Magic, lands have been there since day one. You just kind of have to accept it, right? But Overtriggers, nope.
School, I only got into Vanguard competitively, my first competitive game, so I can't really speak much about competitive Magic here, but
I can.
For example, in Digimon, it's like the game is less back and forth, but it still has that kind of like luck factor in it a little bit. Just like in Duel Masters, you have shields.
I saw someone in the comments of the stream say, like, I really like it because I don't like in Digimon when I know I'm gonna lose. But that means you played badly, probably. Like, if you're losing in a card game, you're losing in a card game. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I get, yeah, you're right. Like in Buddy Fight, for example, people would just scoop their cards up when they know they're going to lose. But in Vanguard, you never scoop because you're about to get killed and you could possibly get a heal trigger and come back from it. But like, that's just card games. That's just competitive card games, is scooping properly and knowing when to scoop, right? Go to game, oh great, let's go to game 2. And Yu-Gi-Oh! I did this all the time. Like, whenever my opponent comboed off and I went second playing pendulums, I would just scoop, go to game 2, win because I went first, and then in game 3 I beat them with my going second staples. Like, strategic scooping is great because in game 2 they had no idea what I was playing, so they really couldn't side for me. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but knowing you're gonna lose in a card game is just card games. Most card games, as a matter of fact. And this whole idea of like you can play whatever game you want. What if I live in America and like we only have Yu-Gi-Oh, ew, Magic, ew, Pokemon, ew, Buddy Fight died. I don't really like Digimon because I wasn't born with Digimon and I really don't like the game mechanics. So Vanguard's the only game I can really play because I enjoy the mechanics. Are you telling me to not play Vanguard?
In Digimon, you have security, and I like that too. You know, it also makes games feel different, even if your deck does the same thing every time. And also just the nature of the game, you know, sometimes does make...
That's entirely true. The game is different, even if your deck does the same thing every time, because you have to adapt on the fly. So, that's true.
Games feel quite different because there's no mulligan in the game. But I play Vanguard because I like that RNG mechanic. I like triggers. And so for me, I've been signed up to this experience since day one. Like, I've been signed up for, like, I will lose games to trigger.
I'm reading some of the comments in the stream, and it's just like... It's so... It's saying, I like them because, but then just saying, it's not a problem because... Like, just say you like them. Don't say they're not a problem, because they are. They are a problem. I'll say it right now, and I'll say it over and over again. They are a problem, but if you like them, you like them. You can say, I like them because, and then give your point. You don't need to say they're not a problem, because you're basically, like, I'm going to be real with you, nobody with multiple tops in this game likes them. Nobody with multiple tops in this game likes them. Like, nobody. So, like if you're in the comments, raise your hand if you have multiple tops. I don't count Vision. Vision isn't real. Vision is not real competitive Vanguard. Sorry. But like, raise your hand. It's glorified locals. Raise your hand if you have multiple regional tops, maybe even world tops, or you've gone to worlds and multiple times and you think Overtriggers are fine for the game. I guarantee you there will be nobody in the comments. People who like them, that's a different story. But, you know, people who play the game understand that they're a problem. So, saying they're not a problem is just objectively wrong, and you are allowed to say that you like them, but again, just say that. Don't say they're not a problem.
Trigger sometimes, and I will win games to trigger sometimes. That's just part of the game. Like, I signed up for this. And therefore, this comes back to this. I accept it. I accept the fact that...
Yeah, again, yes, but like 100 million power, it's different than like a trigger changing the flow of the game somewhat. RNG should be used to change the flow of the game, not determine who wins. I'm just saying. Like, basically people were saying it's just like another trigger. Don't understand that changing the flow of the game by like another 10k power, or guard breaking because you got 10k power, as opposed to like over-triggering and ending the turn or winning the game, is like not the same thing at all, dude. Sorry.
That I will sometimes, you know, let's say in Vanguard 0, be going for game, my opponent checks the defensive, that shuts down my turn, bam, can't do shit. Gotta pass turn, probably lose. You know? It's just
But that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good, and it doesn't have to be part of the game, though. Again, Vanguard has existed without the Overtrigger for all this time. It's not like it's eternally part of the game now. They could get rid of them. They won't, but they could, and that's why I'm so vocal about it. It's not like I'm saying, remove grade 3s from the game, because that would be an unreasonable request. Grade 3s have been in the game since the beginning, and the game has been built around them, but like Overtriggers, they haven't been designed around. You can remove them and the games will be fine.
accept it. That's just something that is gonna happen, and as Mellow What Matt says, nobody's forcing you to play this game either if you really don't.
That is such a garbage point, dude. I'm sorry. That is such a... You're basically saying if you don't like them, don't play. But again, I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't like Magic. I don't like Pokemon. I don't like Digimon. I don't like most of the other games in the States. I can't fly to Japan and play Duel Masters or Battle Spirits. So like, what am I supposed to do? You want to give me an answer there, buddy? Vanguard is the only game I legitimately really enjoy over here in the States. And I like the mechanics. I like how triggers change the flow of the game, but don't necessarily end them. Saying quit the game because Overtriggers is so gatekeepy, dude. I'm sorry. Like, again, the game has existed without them all this time. Why do I need to be completely okay with them now? Just saying. Just saying.
Don't like it. Also, like, again, nobody's...
And that's the same thing as saying, like, if you don't like Yu-Gi-Oh, if you don't like Link summoning, just quit Yu-Gi-Oh. Even though people have, like, put so much money and time into Yu-Gi-Oh and they love the game. Like, I don't like Link summoning either, but, like, I'll play with it because, like, I will verbally say I don't like it every day of my life, but I also have to play with them because that's just how the game is played now. That is just such a garbage point, dude. I'm sorry.
Forcing you to play this format either, right?
Again, you're telling people to go play V. V is objectively a bad format, dude. I'm sorry. There's no player interaction. If what you're looking for is player interaction, you go to Premium or D. But if you go to Premium or D, you have Overtriggers. So, like, this just... It's not that simple, Chris.
Because this is also the thing that, like, if you really don't like Overtriggers, you can play V Premium, right? They don't have any in them, and I think the luck kind of adds fun to it, right? So I'm not going to add this to the plus minus, but I think the luck factor adds fun to it. All right, let's come up with one more plus, one more minus, and then we can rank it on a scale of 10, and you're going to see where my answer ends up into, because I don't think it's a 0. I don't think it's a 0 because, as you can see, there are positives, and I can already tell you my last positive, 50k shield. I like 50k shield.
The fact, in the comments, the fact that every player has a chance to win because of this mechanic is the part I love the most. Casually, yes, you are correct, but competitively, the best player should be winning the game. If you lose a game, it's because you're bad and need to get better. That's how competitive card games work. I know Bushiroad says, oh, Vanguard isn't competitive, but some people want this to be a competitive game, and you know what? I see no issue with that. I see no issue with taking this game with a competitive mindset, but they should be rewarded for their effort. If I go to... You can't really get better at Uno, right? Like, if I go to a Uno tournament expecting to win because I'm better than everyone in the room, it's just not going to happen. Why would I try and get better at Uno when the game doesn't work that way, right? Why would I invest my time in trying to get better at Vanguard if I could just flip an Overtrigger and win, right?
Personally, I like it. It's nice. Last negative... You know, I gotta kind of try for this. I think undeserved win-loss is like... I think this...
I will say, I really like the 50k shield, though. That should stay, if they change them.
This one and this one are the biggest ones. Like the big negatives here.
But they're huge negatives. In my opinion, they outweigh every positive. Like, sometimes people make a positive-negative list, and it's like, the positives outweigh the negatives, so it's fine, right? Like, I can give you all the positives for bringing a toaster into your bathtub with you, but the negative of dying is still kind of an issue. Like, you can make toast while you're in a bath. You can make bagels while you're in the bath. You don't have to get up to go get a midnight snack. It will still kill you. Like, negatives can outweigh positives.
I think by far, I think this is a big positive for a lot of people. Like, when you have to ask them to like name a positive, they say this. I think not that many people talk about this, and I think I've seen few people talk about this. Like, oftentimes, like, I'll engage in conversation about overtriggers, and when I mention this point, they're like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. Yeah.
I do like the comment that says if you draw, it's not a dead card. That is true. Like, I really like that, the fact that they actually made it a viable draw, where like it's like a heal trigger, you're just like, oh, come on.
You know, like, okay, I guess I get that. You know, but people often don't relate to this. And my kind of message also to people watching this is like, don't feel bad if you like them too, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Don't feel bad if you like them. You are allowed to like them. My problem is people who say they're objectively not a problem, because they are. I don't like them because they're I tend to like not have opinions on most things. So like, I will often lean towards whatever is objective. Like, objectively, these are RNG, therefore these are not good for competitive play. Objectively, these end games, so they're not good for competitive play. Like, yeah, people have played a lot of games and ran the numbers, and the numbers show that these are not good for the game. So that's kind of where I lie, because personally, I think they're great for casual Vanguard, but in competitive, which is where I tend to go, it's just awful. But if you like them because you only play casual and you only go to locals and you only play with your friends, then that's great. I'm glad you like them. I would never take that away from you.
But I don't know, I guess the last negative is like game swaying, but that kind of comes back to this, like, game swaying, question mark, I guess.
I mean, that's the same thing as undeserved win lost, and game swaying is what triggers do. Overtriggers just end the game.
I guess is the last negative. Like, yeah, it sways games, but this kind of like comes to this, is that like sometimes like you'll be in a great spot, it doesn't necessarily determine the game. Like, checking an overtrigger oftentimes doesn't win you the game, but the plus you made from it, like say the Dragon Empire one, is pretty crazy because you...
This is also a really good point. Someone that says, if you survive them, it feels great. Yeah, it does. If I survive an overtrigger and I win the next turn, I feel amazing, but that happens so infrequently.
Check it on turn 3, that's an extra 3 cards you're netting in hand, because you... Well, actually, no, extra 2, because the draw you get from the overtrigger is replacing the fact that it's not going to hand, but it's getting banished. So I think game swing is kind of like undeserved win-losses. I can't really come up with a last negative. Personally, I think these negatives are huge.
Yes, these negatives outweigh the positives by a long shot. Especially since artwork doesn't really affect the mechanic itself. Like, these could have pencil drawings on them and people would still play them because they're that good.
A lot of people, but if we add it up, right? Let's say on a scale of, like, but for the scale of 10, like, do we like just not give a point here? I guess we just don't give a point here, right? For the time being, right?
Oh no, an ad!
Can help you
no,
an
advert!
Confidently, so you never
Chris,
have
I'm
to
sorry,
slow
I
down
have to
at
skip
work.
the advert. I need a video.
But I think if we add that up, right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. So on a scale of 10, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives on my side, right? On my side. I don't like OT because I love to test decks I build multiple times, and when it appears, it kind of invalidates that game. Okay, we can talk about that, like throwing off testing, but that doesn't really... I don't think that really holds value in my opinion.
I do believe it does. It completely throws off testing because, like, you're trying to see if you're good at piloting the deck, and then an overtrigger can show up and make all your hard work invalidated.
Because you're testing the standard format, and this is part of the standard format, therefore it's going to happen. Like, you have to...
Again, you can't plan around it. I know what he's going to say. He's going to say you have to plan around it. You can't. Probability-wise, you can't.
You just, like, accept that. It's not the question of adapting, it's the question of accepting. It's just how it is. Yeah, like, that's a big discussion that I don't want to like overtake this one too much. I really wanted to have this conversation because I think a lot of people, they really tunnel vision on like Overtrigger bad. They go to Twitter, they open up their Twitter every single day and they write Overtrigger bad.
I don't think it's tunnel visioning. I think people have legitimate reasons to hate the Overtrigger, just as people have legitimate reasons to like the Overtrigger.
And it's like, yeah, okay, Overtrigger bad, but can we talk about it? You know, can we like establish...
Yeah, if you say Overtrigger bad and you don't defend your points, you're kind of an idiot. You should defend your points.
What's bad about it, and maybe some things that some people might enjoy about it. Like, for me, this is the biggest thing about it. I like the thrill. I like the thrill the most. Like, to me, this is the coolest thing about it. And I guess the comeback mechanic, you know? But for a lot of people, they just kind of like stop here, and don't really talk about anything else. So, yeah. Also, like, I think that's just kind of where I would like to leave it. I think that's where I would like to leave it. It's part of the game. My recommendation is go through my process, you know?
My recommendation is, YouTube's having another heart attack. Well, it's the end of the video anyway, so I don't think it really matters.
For a lot of people, they just kind of hate it, then you accept it, and then it's kind of hype.
Not in competitive format. Like, if it was best of 3, I can tell you right now, my locals is best of 3, and when the Overtrigger is checked, it doesn't really hurt because it's best of 3. It's best of 1 tournaments where people are really going to start having problems.
It's not the best thing. You lose games you're supposed to win. You'll win games you're not supposed to. But it's hype if you're not like eternally negative about it. Like, if you watch
it again, no, that's not how. Again, if I'm a competitive player at a competitive tournament, I'm gonna hate the Overtrigger every time it's shown.
Walk into a game with a negative mindset about it, you'll always feel bad about it. Like, it'll.
This is true, but again, that's very casual.
Never be hyped to you. You'll never get thrilled about it. You'll never get excited about it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think, let's see, out of 10, let's say we start with 10, we go down by 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we give it a 6? I'm happy to give it a 6. Don't.
Again, if that's how he personally feels about it, he's totally entitled to his opinion, man. Like, I disagree entirely, Chris. I think you're very wrong, but I got nothing but respect for you, dude. So yeah, that is different fights, feelings on the Overtrigger. This was a fun watch, actually. This was a fun discussion. But I no hard feelings, Chris. If you're watching this, once again, no hard feelings, man. I love you. You're great. Collab with me sometime. Again, wink, wink. But yeah, this was awesome. And I'm Premium Chad of Team Galaxy Brain, and I will see you guys later. I am working on more videos. I have that overdressed video coming up, and I have that surprise video. Jabron, Khalil, if you're listening, buddy, that video's coming, dude. But yeah, see you guys later.